All right, we're back. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm Trent Miller with Found Your Florida, and today we're going to kind of go over just some topics that are going on in the Florida real estate world. Number one, we're going to talk about the Florida property tax, what just passed, what does that mean for people that are moving here currently, and people who are living here currently, and just kind of talking about that whole entire thing. We're going to talk about Parrish High School graduation class. How many kids are actually graduating from Parrish High School, and is Parrish High School overcrowded? We're going to talk about new construction starts. So Lakewood Ranch set a record for new construction starts in 2026. And who's moving to Florida versus leaving in 2026? We're going to talk about some of that stats. And then we're going to talk April to May's fresh data going on in terms of inventory, houses on the market, how long they're sitting, etc. We're going to talk some builder incentives. And then what do people actually like most in their homes now? Let's just jump right into it. Number one, we're going to talk Florida property taxes. So, as you guys know, Governor DeSantis has been very outspoken saying he wants to abolish all Florida property taxes, which is great. But let's get into the actual details of how this is actually going to happen. So on June 2nd, 2026, Florida lawmakers, they passed a proposal creating a $250,000 homestead exemption on non-school taxes, sending it to the November 26th ballot. It passed the Senate by 30-9, and it passed the House 75-26. So in November, if the public decides and they get 60% voting on this issue, it will actually pass. And what it actually does is it raises the current $50,000 homestead exemption to $150,000 in 2027 and $250,000 in 2028. And it has a framework to eliminate that for full elimination over time. And here's the catch, though, and then what a lot of people who are thinking about moving here for this might not understand. Starting after January 1st, 2027, a new resident must show 5 years of Florida residency to actually qualify for that larger exemption. Until then, they only get the current exemption. So if you're thinking about moving to Florida just because of the Florida property tax thing, I think long term, that's probably where Florida is heading. I think short term, obviously, you're going to have to live here for 5 years, given the current bill, for that to actually take place. And so it's going to be interesting. Obviously, a lot of local leaders and mayors are coming out saying it's going to absolutely decimate local budgets, and a lot of the infrastructure like police, parks, roads, sidewalks, everything might be decimated. Now, obviously, DeSantis has kind of talked about this, that Florida has had such an influx of people and they have such a surplus of actual dollars in the state government and local governments that these local governments' budgets have just bloated so much over time. And so his point is these local governments are going to need to adjust, figure out ways to A, either raise their own local taxes, or B, they're going to have to figure out a way to maybe eliminate some services that are in there. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But I think the most important thing for you guys to note is it's not going to take place right away. It's not going to be the full elimination of property taxes from day one. It's a tiered kind of system. And if you're moving here right off the bat, you need to show 5 years residency in order to even qualify for this new exemption. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, overall, Florida is still a very affordable place to live from a state tax perspective. Obviously, we have no income tax in the state here, which is very nice. All right, segment number 2. Parrish High School graduated 589 kids just recently. That was the class of 2026. They graduated on May 20th, 2026 in Lecom Park. And they got over $2.6 million in scholarships and grants reported for that class. So the class itself did really well, but that 589 number really sticks out in my head. I mean, you got to think about that number. Really shows that Parrish has gone from a rural community to a hustling and bustling town. And, back in the day, all of that land just used to be farmland. Now there's obviously a lot of new communities, and I just want to hear what you guys think about the infrastructure. Is the infrastructure keeping up with the amount of growth that's happening in the Manatee corridor? That is the question. I got a lot of comments on my last couple TikTok videos of, posting things about new communities, and people in the comments getting so upset that people are moving to Florida. They're saying they're ruining it. They're ruining all the nature and the wildlife. So I'm not here to kind of give my opinion on that stuff, because It's not my job to give my opinion. My job is to give you guys the facts. You guys think about what opinions you want. But I will say, if you're yelling at a realtor on TikTok for just promoting what's actually out there, I think your anger is probably in the wrong bin. You need to talk to your local county commissioners. You need to talk to your local government, because those are the ones that are actually containing, limiting, and encouraging growth. So again, you can yell at me all you want. I'm just here to give you guys the facts. But the fact is, I thought that was an interesting number, 589 for the senior class of Parrish High School. That is a lot of students. That school opened up in 2019, so to have that many students in one class is a lot. There was obviously a new 16-room classroom addition to the school, as well as in North River Ranch, they're opening up that new middle school, and there's a State College of Florida coming all in that North River Ranch corridor. So obviously schools follow the rooftops. 3 big schools being built up that way, and that just shows that Parrish right now is exploding. The infrastructure is starting to catch up. So let's kind of get into that. I want to transition. So it's hard to actually track the current amount of new home construction starts going on in Parrish, Florida, because it's unincorporated. So it kind of folds all of their stats into the Manatee County total. So there's no clean figure as to how many starts Parrish had last year. However, I mean, all of these communities that I've been kind of showing you are 1,000, 1,500, 6,000 North River Ranch. Explorer is going to be, almost 1,200 homes. So the Eastern Manatee Parrish corridor right now is booming, and there's a lot of concentration of Florida communities. This reminds me a lot of what Riverview was in that 2015 to 2020 timeframe. And if you guys have ever driven up that way, I think that's kind of what we're going to expect Parrish to be moving forward here. Is I feel like it's a very similar situation to Riverview. You have every single builder building in Parrish. That's no surprise. That's where the land was available, and strategically, it's actually a pretty good location. You're close to the 3 major cities, Sarasota, St. Pete, and Tampa, and also close to the Gulf beaches. So definitely coveted land. Farmers are very happy because they just got bought out and get paid millions from these builders for their family land. And yeah, it is sad. I actually went to high school at Palmetto High School in the year of 2012, and when I drove out to Parrish, my buddy had a strawberry farm out there, and you took Moccasin-Wallow Road. I mean, it felt like you were in the boondocks. I mean, there was no one there, all farms, and it definitely did have that small town country feel. And I think this is a deeper, more important thing to talk about is places change over time, and people aren't going to like that change. Some people are going to like that change, and that's why people move. It's not a bad thing that everyone wants to be in a place that you are. It means that there's things that are drawing people there. There's affordable homes. There's things to do. There's restaurants. There's good schools. There's roads being built. That progress leads people to come there. And yes, it's going to piss off maybe a lot of people who don't like to see change, but it's also going to make a lot of people happy who didn't have the availability to live in such a nice place like Florida. So I understand both sides of it. Again, just giving my facts versus what you guys want to take in terms of your opinion on all the growth. So I do want to talk about, though, Lakewood Ranch had its biggest 12-month construction period ever. So 2,638 houses starting through March. That is a 55% increase over the prior year, and 1/4 of all housing starts in Sarasota and Manatee County. I want to repeat, Lakewood Ranch just had its biggest 12-month construction period ever. What does that mean? This is why you guys are seeing the builders offering so much incentive right now. There are so many starts and so many new builders coming and flooding into the market, trying to take their market share, and they're willing to lose margins just to capture some market share right now. A lot of these builders are banking big on the west coast of Florida in their future plans, and you see now with Berkshire Hathaway just purchasing Taylor Morrison for over $8 billion, a 25% premium on the current stock price. This shows that equity in the market understands that housing is one of the biggest markets moving forward. You see a fiscally responsible company like Berkshire Hathaway dishing out that much cash in order to buy a company. That sends a signal down the market that a couple things I think are coming. Number one, these big public builders and bigger private builders, expect to see a lot of change of ownership here in the next 3 to 4 years. I think there's going to be a lot more big conglomerates buying out smaller businesses or smaller builders to gain their land position, to gain their brand. I think it makes a lot of sense. Just a couple of builders that come to mind that I think will probably be purchased in the next few years. I look at a company like Meritage Homes. I look at a company like West Bay, that's a Tampa-based builder. I look at a company like Ashton Woods. I think all of these companies that are private are primed to get bought up either by a bigger public builder or by someone like a Berkshire Hathaway where they want to enter back into the market. One thing to also note, this is interesting, is Japan actually has a lot of large construction builder companies that, because the demand in Japan has gone down so much for homes just due to their population decline, you have all these companies over there sitting on piles of money and not really many places to invest in Japan. So you actually see a lot of Japanese companies coming in and buying a lot of these smaller builders to get a foothold in the US market. So expect a lot more of that coming, but I just think it is definitely something to note that the 12-month construction period, there's 2,638 starts through March. So that is why Lakewood Ranch is the #1 multi-generational master plan community in the U.S. I mean, this is big business down there. And again, there's a lot of change coming. So I don't really know what to tell people who are against it, because unless you're getting with the county commissioners and rezoning and protecting your own lands, the builders are coming whether you like it or not. So let's talk about, we hear this a lot online right now. Florida market is crashing. Oh my God, Florida, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's leaving back to where they moved originally. So actually, Florida last year, they gained 22,517 residents, that they were net domestic migration. So out of all the people that left and came, the delta was 22,517. That was down from 58,411 in 2024 and 183,646 in 2023. And get this, 310,000 in 2022. So what does that mean? It's actually been a 93% drop in net residents year over year over the last 3 years. But that doesn't mean that new people are stopping to coming here. It just means that we've kind of come back to the normal amount of people coming. To give you some perspective, Alabama last year actually had a higher net resident migration than Florida, but Florida ranked 8th nationally. So still net positive. U-Haul actually ranked Ocala as the #1 growth city for the 3rd time in 4 years, and 12 of U-Haul's top 25 growth cities are actually in the state of Florida, including 8 of the top 10. So what does that mean? It means Florida has cooled down from historic highs of the mass migration of COVID, but it is definitely a place where people are still moving to, and I don't see that stopping for a while. The lifestyle down here, the housing affordability, even though I understand that it's higher than what it was in Florida 5 years ago, but if you compare our prices to Boston, New York, LA, Sacramento, Austin, Texas, we are still a very affordable place to live. I mean, I've been talking to you guys about homes starting in the low 300s. Those numbers are kind of back to where they even were in that, 2020 to 2019 timeframe. Obviously up a little bit, but overall, still an affordable place to live in comparison to other places, right? It's always about, when you're thinking about stuff like that, it's like, okay, they're cheap, but cheap compared to what? Or they're expensive compared to what? Someone will say, oh, Florida housing has got so expensive. And I'll say, compared to what? Because so is Boise, Idaho housing prices. So has Boston housing prices. This isn't just a Florida issue in terms of housing prices. That's happening across the entire country. So just to narrow down Florida in that, I feel like unfairly puts Florida in a negative light. I think there's a bigger issue at hand. And whether you think the market is set to tank or you think the housing market is just at the beginning, it really doesn't matter what you think, because all we can go on is what is there now. If anyone's predicting that, I mean, they're just guessing at the point. And there's educated guesses. I get that. But Never take what someone says with 100% certainty. You have to research it on your own, get your own opinion, and make the best informed decision that you can, right? And so let's talk about the Sarasota County and Manatee County, just kind of the stats from this past month here. So Sarasota County had 824 closed single family homes. That was up 1% year over year. Median price was up 4.3% to 490,000. Cash buyers in Sarasota County, this is crazy, 44% of all sales. So sellers got about 94% of the original list price. So inventory is now down in Sarasota. It fell 27% to 3,200 homes. That's only a 4.7 month supply and a median 46 days to contract. Manatee County, single family sales up 5% to 704 closed homes. Median price up 6.1% to 492,500, but inventory also fell down 9% to 2,929 listings. That is a 4.6 month supply, 46 average days to contract. So big picture here is both activity actually strengthened in Sarasota and Manatee County. Active inventory is on the decline. So what does that mean? Pricing right now is pretty stable in the market, and we have seen a bump up in actual $1 million plus single family residences going up. So that's why I think you're seeing West Bay, Perry Homes, David Weekley start to enter into the more luxury segment, because if 48% of all people are buying cash and $1 million sales are going up, these builders don't want to compete with the Lennars and the D.R. Hortons, where they're just a race to the bottom, a race to the most incentives. They're going to position themselves, I think, more as the luxury builders moving forward, and you'll see D.R. Horton and Lennar continue to dominate and capture in the more affordable segment of the market. So builder incentives, I mean, we talked about how many starts are actually happening right now. That's no doubt. Like I said, a lot of people are trying to get market share right now. Builder incentives are going to remain a big thing moving forward here. Obviously, you've seen the 4.99, special financing as low as 3.75. Usually that's an ARM product, which is an adjustable rate mortgage. But I want to be very clear here, because I think there's been stuff going out, getting put out into the ether on Facebook. There is a lot of realtors right now that are basically falsely, I guess they're falsely portraying what these incentives are. And I think it's really important to hear from the source that, when you see a realtor post on Facebook that there's free pools, 3.99% interest, 4% this, 5% that, $100,000 off options, that sounds all great, but it's pretty much just sucking you in with, I would say, deceptive marketing. And that's not what you want from your own realtor, right? You want your realtor to actually give you the real picture. That's what I do. Guys, when someone says that, oh, there's free pools, and then they're posting AI generated photos of neighborhoods, that's not helping you guys at all. That's just sucking you in to message them, and then they will try to, weasel their way into working with you. That's not what I do. I want to just give you guys the actual facts of what's going on. And the reason I say that, I'm not saying that some of the builders aren't offering free pools. I'm not saying that some of the builders aren't offering a 3.99% interest rate. Of course they are. But to put it all in one paragraph as if one specific community is offering all that, I think it's disingenuous. I don't like it. It's not how I like to do business. But I keep a running tab of all the incentives per home. What does that mean, right? So free pool, for example, that means a to be built. So a to be built means you're not going to get as much closing cost incentives. You won't apply and be able to get that lower interest rate. If you want these 3.99s and these 4.99% interest rates, that's usually going to be on a quick move-in home that's 30 to 60 days out. So if you're thinking you're going to build a home and get the lower interest rate, there's not a lot of options out there. Taylor Morrison offers an extended rate lock option. They'll give you 1% below what the market rate is when you close. But again, you won't know what that rate is until you close. So anyway, it's important to kind of digest all of these builder incentives that are going on, not fall for the builders marketing or other realtors marketing. Let's just have a real conversation about finding incentives that actually fit your situation too, because $20,000 towards closing costs might go a lot further in your monthly payment impact than $20,000 off the price. A free pool that has a $200,000 value might only cost the builder $50,000 to put in. So really, is it a $100,000 incentive or is it a $50,000 incentive? And could that money have gone further for you other places? That's all I want to talk about for builders incentives. let's see. One issue I want to talk about is, a lot of you who are building a home, some of you had a bad experience with maybe the person or the company that was building your home. And I think it's important to talk about these negative situations, not to scare you, but to kind of walk you through and just give you advice on how to deal with this. So, I've seen in the past with other builders or places even I've worked where, you know, a customer will be really upset with the amount of communication that is going on with their field manager. And I think it stems from a lack of setting expectations up front during the build process. I think it's really important that when you are building your home or having these first meetings, it's clearly defined what the expectation of communication is. Now, I've seen it on both sides where customers will want to be communicated with every single day. They'll send 25 questions to these field managers. And just being realistic, these field managers don't have time in their day when they're building 20 homes at the same time to be answering 20 questions a day by a specific customer. It's just not realistic. Whether you think that is fair or not, it's just kind of the reality of the situation. So if you are wanting these updates, a couple things I would suggest you do. Number one is have a conversation in good heart, um, with the field managers, maybe like reset expectations. Have a resetting expectations phone call where you say, okay, what is a fair expectation for me to assume? How long is it going to take you to respond to one of my texts or emails or calls? And how many times a week can I expect an update? And if the answer is one time, then you need to make sure all your questions are getting hit in that one time. If the answer is, well, I'll get back to you as soon as I can, that's not good enough. You need to clearly define what's going to work. But I will say, when you have a realtor like myself who kind of understands the build process, I can help kind of smooth that whole process because there's a lot of these questions that I'll just be able to know just by walking the house myself and be able to deliver to you guys and make sure that that's put into writing to the field manager. So what I would say is take a deep breath, try to take your emotions out of it, get back on the same page with your field manager. Don't let it ruin the experience of the build because at the end of the day, it's an exciting process to build a new home and you don't want a lack of communication from a field manager ruining your entire process. So what we would do is we would try to address it right from the source itself by resetting expectations with a field manager. If that doesn't work, I mean, sometimes there are situations in which you have to go to a manager and get these things addressed and not let your house actually slip in terms of quality. That is the most important thing. Relationship with a field manager, yes, it's important, but we just need to make sure your home is built correctly, properly, and passes all proper tests. So I thought that was important to talk about. All right, I want to talk about another thing. So, you know, I get a lot of questions about should I buy in Parrish or should I buy in Lakewood Ranch? And the answer, I think, really is going to depend on what you're looking for. Lakewood Ranch is one community with 33,000 acres under one developer. So it's been building the infrastructure for 30 plus years, and it was all planned out up front. Parrish is actually an unincorporated patchwork of many separate developers building all at once. So public infrastructure is kind of racing to keep up. So it's two different scenarios. And it doesn't mean that one is actually better than the other. It just means that when you're driving through Parrish and you're like, well, why are these roads still widening? Blah, blah, blah. It's because everything wasn't planned at once. So they really are just trying to keep up. I think the final result is going to feel very nice once it's actually done. But I think maybe the process of how it was done doesn't make sense to a lot of you. But it's hard because it's unincorporated. So it's not even like Parrish has a mayor that's overseeing all of this or anything. And Lakewood Ranch has one developer. So they have had a lot of power and time and experience to plan it all. So it's definitely very different. And I think the big thing that you're probably seeing in Parrish right now too is that 7 miles of the Moccasin Wallow Road that's been widened from 2 to 4 lanes between US 41 and US 301. That eventually is going to be a really, really nice road, but it's kind of hectic right now. I mean, if you're turning on Moccasin Wallow, you might be turned off right away, right this second, if you're not understanding what's actually coming. And you have to be okay with living near that construction for a little bit before it's all done. And how you get rewarded with that is a couple of things. Number one, you're not paying as much for a house in Parrish as you are for Lakewood Ranch. So right off the bat, you're going to get more house for the dollar. And a lot of these new communities in Parrish are going to be awesome. But I would say we're still at the beginning stages of what Parrish could be. So there's a lot to come. You know, you have Baycare. They broke ground on the 154 bed, $563 million hospital right on Moccasin Wallow Road. That's going to have an adjacent health club. And then HCA also obviously has their hospital off of Moccasin Wallow and Fort Hamer Road. And then that new Parrish Town Center that Neil's going to be building. So there's a lot coming to Parrish. And I know it feels disjointed, the kind of organization of it all. And kind of it is, because there was no master plan for it, because it's an unincorporated place. Lakewood Ranch, they hired the best city planners of all time to build that town. So, of course, you're going to feel different in both of those spots. But at the end of the day, it will get a lot better in Parrish. Just give it some time. I know a lot of you who've already moved down there have given it some time and may feel frustrated. And a lot of you love living in Parrish. So there's going to be opinions from every side of the aisle on that one. But I think it doesn't matter kind of what you think, because it's coming. Parrish is coming whether you like it or not. Builders have invested hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into Parrish. So thanks for kind of sticking up with me, dealing with me during this podcast. I wanted to just kind of get my thoughts out there, talk about some stuff. I think the main things to talk about: understanding that Florida new taxes coming in with property taxes, understanding Lakewood Ranch versus Parrish. And you guys let me know in the comments, what do you think about all the building that's going on in Florida? Do we like it? Do we hate it? Do we want to just say stop and then no growth, and then probably your home value will go down? I mean, it's up to you. You guys let me know. I'm Trent Miller with Found Your Florida. Remember, guys, I worked for the builder for 7 years, so I understand the new construction aspect from the inside out. I'm here to work with you as your buyer's agent, get you into a community that you feel comfortable with, but also negotiate, obviously, the best deal we can get and make sure that build process is as smooth as possible. So, guys, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm actually going to put a link in the description here to just book a 15-minute strategy call with me. No strings attached. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what your needs are, and hopefully we can work together. So, Found Your Florida, signing off. We'll see you guys again. If you don't mind, like and subscribe, share this with one of your friends, and have a great day.